next week. She's going to tell Halstead about her past. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a really fun episode for me because it's a piece of information that when I read it on the page, I went, yep, great. Makes sense, and I think even subconsciously was a decision I'd made, but you have to be careful as an actor with those because sometimes they don't come out in a script the way you think they will. But it really aligned with decisions I'd made for Lindsay, and it's a piece of information that comes out in a conversation Lindsay's having with a victim, not a conversation Lindsay's having with Halstead. It's not something that she wants to talk about in depth with the person who she trusts the most. That's a whole separate can of worms, if you will. So it's interesting because he hears what she says and then has to press her about it a little bit. And you can tell that it's really something that leads to a whole arena of her life that she's not quite ready to open completely, and that I find the most interesting because if she was totally ready to talk about it, she'd be over it, and I like that she's not.
Yeah, these Dick Wolf shows, and obviously we're here honoring Dick Wolf tonight, but they really do have some wonderfully layered women characters. You've gone through so much on this show. What do you love about the writing of your show?
I appreciate that I am allowed to be many things. I'm not some archetype of strong and only that. I like that Lindsay is multifaceted. She's brilliant and intuitive and sharp, and she's also deeply emotionally affected by the work that she does, and sometimes processes that affectedness properly and sometimes doesn't. And that's true of so many of the police officers that we work with. They very often say they're fine when they're not. It's a job that makes you suffer, yet they get up every day and they go back and they do it again. And that is an incredible cross to bear. And it's very interesting for me just exploring the effects of that kind of life.
So, episode 21, we have Chicago Justice being introduced. That's on your show. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's just such a natural extension of our show. I think that it worked so well when we had to do the trial for Dr. Reibold in episode 10 of our third season that everybody went, wait a minute, we have this whole arena that we're not using. It's a resource for the police, and it's really exciting to be expanding again. I feel a little like a broken record, but I mean it. It's just such a natural extension of what we already do.